Rising ground, folks. We have another video. The complaint is that this inducer motor is noisy. The customer said they can hear this upstairs whenever this heat runs. And this is a newer Duquesne unit, but the customer got some work done to the basement, so there's a lot of dust, so that's definitely not good. But I got my manometer hooked up. I want you guys to listen to the sound of this when I turn it on, but also watch the inches of water column on my manometer. So I gotta jump this thing out and check this out here. This thing is pulling a good inches of water column, but maybe some dust got inside the bearings. And that is what's causing the sound. I definitely want to open this up to take a look. It sounds like internally something is definitely going wrong inside that motor. That's not a normal sound. But I'm going to open this up and I'm going to take a look at it. This is part 2. As you can see, there's definitely a lot of dust near the burners. And once again, this house is under renovation for some time, but that flame sensor was dirty. Reason why I said that, this is secondary to the noise. This inducer motor is definitely, even though it's working, it's definitely loud. So I think maybe internally, all that dust build up on top of the unit running. This is causing this inducer motor to make a noise. So I actually got another one, the OEM, and that should fix the noise concern. And as you can see, even though this is a newer Duquesne unit, this inducer motor is definitely seeing brighter days. But remember, guys, there's cause and effect. Last thing we want to do is just put a new inducer motor in and just let it rock. Definitely, whenever you see a unit like this that, you know, as far as with dust, something that could be cleaned, you definitely want to just make sure that you try your best to keep a unit in a better condition than how you found it. For sure, we just cleaned the flame sensor, but I want to get a shot back here and clean this. That's definitely not good. You don't want dust anywhere near your burners, because on the other side of your manifold is where the orifices are. And if this dust continues to build up and it clogs up your orifice, now, similar to an engine, you're probably going to misfire. So you definitely don't want to have any issues there. So, on top of that, I actually, and this is another side keynote here. I'm not sure if you guys know, with Duquesne and Linux, let's say if this customer had an intermittent issue, and they actually did, by the way. The unit worked, but then it just stopped working, and then it turned back on. But with Duquesne and Linux units, what I like about these units is that if you have an intermittent issue, if you tap this button, you don't hold it in, but if you tap it, it will show you the last, I believe, 3 system faults. The reason why I say you just press it, you don't want to hold it in. If you hold it in, I think for like more than 3 seconds, I believe, it will essentially delete all the recent codes here. I'm looking at this right here. Actually, it's the last 10 error codes, so that's pretty cool. To recall, press and release the button. Most recent ones will be displayed. And if you want to delete the last 10 error codes for some reason, you hold that button down for 3 seconds and it erases it. Now, when this unit was running, initially when I took the video, you guys heard the sound of that motor running. I pushed that button and it gave me a fault code 4, low flame signal, check flame sensor, and that is why we did this. That's why we cleaned that flame sensor. And it also gave me an ignition service lockout, which probably could be due to, once again, a number 4. If the flame sensor doesn't sense flame, it's going to try to reset itself or relight itself 3 times, and after that it locks itself out. But I definitely want to open that up and clean it. And also, before I put the new motor in, you definitely want to clean this up here. So always, I mean, with some older units, sometimes it's hard to remove some of the, stains and rust on the unit, but something like this, you just want to make sure this unit is just like a car. You just want to make sure you keep the right oil in it, keep the right oil levels. With a furnace, you want to definitely keep everything clean. Drains, you want to make sure everything's okay, because just like a car, like I said, the smallest parts, if you get dust on it and you dust and electricity together, they don't mix. So, all right, I'm gonna open that up and I'm gonna get to putting this motor in. See you guys in a little bit. All right, we got the new motor installed. We cleaned up the debris that was underneath the old motor, cleaned the burners, cleaned the flame sensor, check the orifices, make sure everything's okay. And now, and another thing, whenever you guys replace these Duquesne inducer motors, they give you flanges. The old flange was still intact and it still was in good condition. But if you take the old inducer motor out and the old flange is shriveled up, or if it's not like in one piece, like you can tell if it's like mangled up and discolored. But they give you a new flange to put inside, and this adhesive, you just stick that in front of the collection box and just put the inducer motor right in front of it, and that will avoid any type of problems that you'll have moving forward as far as with drainage and also inducer motor operations. So there we have it. I'm gonna start this. Anytime you do an inducer motor, always want to have the right tool for the right job. Once again, this manometer, this is how we check inches of water column for your inducer motor. Also, this is how we check inches of water column for gas. So in a nutshell, if I had to diagnose this inducer motor, it's going to be hard to do without this manometer. I could check for power at this inducer motor, but what I always tell my guys is this inducer motor, well, not that one, since that's the new one. This old inducer motor, this thing was running, but some inducer motors could run fine even without the sound. This old inducer motor could have ran fine, but the inches of water column essentially means how strong this inducer motor is running, because remember, this inducer motor runs to pull the carbon monoxide out of your furnace. If this inducer motor isn't running strong enough to do that, then you can forget about having heat. It's not going to work. So that is why you always want to have the proper tools, just to verify and make sure that even if you're making a repair, that you can cover your tracks and make sure that everything's working fine. So if we had a low gas pressure signal or something like that, I can easily locate the gas. The shutoff is over there somewhere, but I can easily locate the gas, turn it off, take out the screw, and I can check my gas pressures. But last thing you want to do is replace things or regulate any gas pressures without this manometer. And I had this now for a while, so it's kind of banged up, but hey, it still works. Well guys, I'm gonna hook up my manometer and I am going to check this new inducer motor out, make sure everything's okay, and I want to show you guys how the new one sounds. Alright guys, we got the new inducer motor in, and this inches of water column is perfect, spot on. But this thing doesn't sound like a tank anymore, but you can pretty much tell the sound difference instantly. Now it's not going to fire up because I took the hose off of my pressure switch and I had to attach my manometer, but yeah, you guys can definitely see not only see it, but you can actually hear the difference. But what I told the customer, I'm pretty sure, like I said, with the unfortunately they had to run this furnace while they was renovating the house, just to keep the house above a certain temperature for the drywall and everything like that. But like I said, these motors, just like your blower motor, if they didn't replace the air filter and that blower motor got canked up with dirt, this is an air-cooled motor. This inducer motor is air-cooled. So essentially, this inducer motor relies on the ambient air to cool itself down, the windings and the stator, the rotor, the whole 9 yards. So just like your blower motor or this inducer motor, gets canked up with dirt, internally it's going to get hot, and most of the time it just burns out. But this one, for some reason, it still ran, but it sounded like a 30-year-old car starting up. So nothing wrong with these old cars, but yeah, you know, the customer said, this is in the basement, by the way, and the customer said they can hear this motor from like 2 floors up. So I know the customer is going to be happy now that, you know, not only will they have heat, but, you know, they don't have to hear the system every time it runs. So, but yeah, by the way, Ducanes are very great systems. You know, if you install it properly, Ducane these things run like tanks. You know, you're definitely going to get a bang for your buck, you know, long term. And like I said, I definitely like the fact that this unit can tell you about intermittent issues, because once again, the intermittent issues are things that happen, you know, while you're not here, and as soon as you get here, everything works fine. So that's exactly kind of like why I like the you know, error code, the circuit board storing the previous error codes. You know, so with a press of a button, you'll know exactly what's going on. So I'm gonna start this thing up, guys. I'll see you in the next one.